Okay, next entry is A4 of 99 in the No Ink Recorder. And here I believe we have a discourse from Charles Anthony regarding the ego structure or the grid and getting beyond it.
That believes it's Damon or believes it's Charlie or something.
We'll start again, back to the beginning of the entry.
For lack of a better term, the unenlightened mind, that means the mind that only knows the grid, that believes it's an ego, that believes it's Damon or believes it's Charlie or so on, okay, or any person. The mind in that condition, the conditioned mind, okay, the product of our past, our karma, the experiences that have happened. I'm going to use as many terms about it as I can so you get a picture of what I'm talking about. So that conditioned mind, that grid, that ego, that psycho and even physical structure, because it inheres in the body as well. That structure feels good or bad, happy or sad, peaceful or agitated, negative or positive in life, according to its image of itself, which is partially, largely, a major percentage derived from the opinions of others and how they're received, and then partially the internalized result of that over years. And all that activity is largely subconscious. You have a little more awareness than most, so you have some internal insight into yourself. So what I'm saying is, now that I've used all that terminology, the ego structure or the personal self is the way of presentation, is the experience, is who you feel you are when the mind is in the mode of living on self-image. And that's what most of all the world knows. In other words, if things that resonate positively with your value system happen to you and within you, you feel good. If things dissonant or opposed to your value system happen, you feel bad. That's self-image living. Okay? It's not freedom. Most of the human beings on the earth believe that's all there is. That's why people struggle to become secure, to have a job, to have a relationship, to feel like they have a place in the world, belonging and so on, because those things are necessary for self-image living. Okay? That's the unenlightened state. So just sit with that for a moment. Yeah, just sit with that and don't even offer any response right now. I just want you to keep listening to me. Okay? For whatever reason, those of us blessed, and I believe it's karmically, that's why I say anything that happens to you that you interpret as bad, you don't know the full import of it. Okay? I'll quote one of the Old Testament prophets when the Lord spoke to these men who had some enlightenment. His voice was speaking in their mind, my ways are not your ways. You can't understand what I'm doing to you. Okay? So it's kind of like that. So however, those of us who are blessed to get a little awareness and start to realize there is a path and feel a calling toward it, want to take some steps on it, actively seek it out and so on, as you are doing and have been doing, we can start to discover for ourselves and know for ourselves, because that's all that counts. Hearsay and in books and somebody else, it doesn't count. The self-knowledge is possible to know what I like to call self-realization, which is other than self-image living. In other words, I can have an actual being that is independent of what I think about myself or what you think about me. Okay? And what you think about me is only indirectly feeding into what I think about myself that produces the feelings. So when a person, to the degree that a person has genuine self-realization, okay, and this can fluctuate in the mind of the same person, but at the times and to the degree that a human being has genuine self-realization, he or she is living in a psychological mode, but it also includes the physical body and all the emotions, but I'm going to use the word psychological to say it pertains to the inner man, the psyche, okay? He or she at that time of self-realization is living in a psychological mode that is self-contained, independent, positive and all great. I can go into other qualities, but what I want to point out is that it's other than the self-image living, which is the hallmark of the unenlightened mind, which is dependent on the thoughts in the mind. This is the key. And the thoughts in the mind are just the tip of the iceberg. That's what I always say. I used to teach when I did basic 101 primers for people that never meditated and they started to sit for a while. I said, does anybody know about the Titanic? Even before the movie came out, because it goes before that. When the movie came out, I said, anybody see the movie Titanic? And they say, yeah. And I say, did it crash on the part of the iceberg it could see? No. Okay, so the surface part of the mind that you think you're aware of mentally is definitely a small percentage. Iceberg is a good metaphor.
I use that metaphor today.
So everything underneath the surface contributes in the unenlightened mind, which is most human beings, including ourselves, okay, when we're in that mode, everything under the surface contributes to the self-image, which is then what establishes the quality of life and feeling for that person. That's the unenlightened state. The best you can do in life, even with all resources and with good karma, is create a temporarily positive self-image. That's the best you can do. Okay? The enlightened state is an
That's the best
option.
a human can do?
Yes.
I thought a human could reach full enlightenment.
Well, I'm trying to help you understand what enlightenment is. Okay? Because as long as we only know self-image living, we don't know enlightenment. Okay? And this is maybe new to you to consider it this way, but it's actually the truth. Okay?
My self-image living, because the thing you said earlier that resonated with me was I lived in a blissful state.
Yes.
Because I was showered with accolades everywhere. I could do no wrong.
So there's an insight. Okay? You were positively, and I'm gonna coin a phrase. I've coined it before, but maybe the first time you're hearing it, I can't remember if I spoke to you or not. Your other realization was positively met for that period. In other words, the input from others resonated positively with your value system, and that gave you a positive self-image, and you felt good because of it.
The world played out
Yes.
just as I thought it should.
When things change, and the data that comes to our self-image is then dissonant with our value system, we're unhappy, right? This is normal human life. What I'm trying to help you understand tonight, if we make this breakthrough of understanding exactly what enlightenment is, it'll be a major step that most people don't know, and that you generally won't be explained this way in any books that I've read.
Good.
Okay? Enlightened living means knowing your being, living your being, acting from your being, expressing from your being in your being, okay? That's independent of your self-image. You'll still have a self-image at times, but you won't take it as seriously as the unenlightened person.
Would you view your self-image as kind of like an actor playing a part?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes, that's ultimately how it will be. That's even the advice of the highest of sages of what do you do with the rest of your life after enlightenment? They say play your part well.
Well,
okay, now hold on before you even comment further.
Yeah.
Just let it sink in. Remember now the Zen master story. If you came and wanted to know something and then I just keep pouring the tea and it flows all over the floor, and you say, what are you doing? Well, you're not leaving any room for the tea. So empty your cup. Let go of your own thoughts about this. You can pick them up later, or we can talk about it later. And I'm almost done with what I wanted to say anyway. I just wanted to open your mind to entertain this new sort of view or notion. These are all just concepts too. I'm pointing at the moon, so don't attach to the concepts, but I'm trying to do it as skillfully and correctly as I can. Enlightened living, an enlightened being, is a completely different animal from self-image living. Okay? Now, let me offer you a proposition that the ancient Hindu sages have said that the true self of a man is. Okay? They use this terminology. In fact, that little Swami who you enjoyed his little book with the meditation instruction, his name is Satchit Ananda. What does it mean? Well, it's the same term. It's a tripart term consisting of 3 Sanskrit words, which I'll explain in a minute. And in modern English, they use the words being, consciousness, bliss, but they need to be explained further. So when you see Satchidananda, it means being, consciousness, bliss. But what are they applying it to? What they're saying, what they have said for millennia, it's the root of all religion, really. Okay, and it's the truth when you realize it, not when somebody else did. See, I know that it's true because it's in my experience, and it happens to jive with what they said, and I've met people of the traditions, and they recognize it, and I see it in them, and it's, all bets are off. We're not in an ego. It's pure. It's beautiful. That's why that guy meeting him the first day, an 80-year-old Zen master, says, you can come live here. Okay? So, Satchidananda is the nature of your being when it's free of the mind, when it's free of thought, when it's free of the grid, when it's free of your past, when it's free of Damon, when it's free of the whole karma of Damon, or Charlie, or Joe Blow. Okay? So, what is Satchidananda now? We've said what it isn't. It's not the grid. It's not the mind. It's not thoughts. It's not your past. It's what you took to be Damon. Damon who felt good based on positive self-image, and Damon who felt bad based on negative self-image. When the right food was coming in, that met your value system, and it worked out. That manifested in the world outward. When the wrong food came in, didn't work out, manifested inward, negatively. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So if we understand these 3 terms, Satchidananda will help. Sat means being, that which is true, and it also has the criteria of being eternal, that which is real, that which is not born, and that which does not die. Now we cannot know that until we go very deep, but it will be a feeling, a conviction that according to some of the traditions, and I totally experience it, it seems right to me, I'm not dead yet, but at the ultimate, they claim it will mature so much that even when the physical body-mind system dies, being is still there, and a human being can know that. Okay? Now, we don't know that yet, so I don't want to speculate or even go there, but I just wanted to use that to help bring in. Sat means real being, not self-image. Self-image are pictures in an iceberg that you're not aware of 90% of that make you feel the way you feel. That's self-image living. You already know about that. Most people, most of the human race thinks that's the only game in town, therefore they have to play it. The wise know that it's not the only game in town. You don't have to live according to self-image. That's not a rule of God. That's just the way man has played it so far. There's no absolute that says man must live by self-image. Not at all. Man can be free of his mind, free of thoughts, free of the grid, free of his past, free of Damon, free of Charlie, free of all personality. That's what Buddha is talking about when he says there's no self. In my language, there's no grid that's real. Shunyata, or emptiness, means that grid is empty of self-nature. That being that you think is yourself is not yourself. It's rising and fluctuating thoughts at super high rates that the human mind cannot see till it slows down. Okay? So sat means that which is real beyond that. Technically, in Sanskrit, they would call your whole personal life and your grid, in my terminology, or your ego structure, or your self-reflective living. We could also now introduce the term dualistic mind, the mind that has subject and object, and that self-reflects.
Yes.
Okay? They technically call that asat. As the negation. It came from Sanskrit into English. Asocial, apolitical, just means not. Okay? Asat. So that means your self-image self, Damon, is not real in the sense of reality that's true and eternal. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Okay? So, it's asat. But now we're talking about what is our nature. So the first of the terms, Satchidananda, I've explained a little bit. Sat, that which is eternal. When you touch and sit and bask in something that is eternal, look what happens to your face. Look, I'm not putting that on. That's what happens when you sit there. You can tell the difference between enlightened and unenlightened. Just look at the face. Enlightened looks that way. When you feel that,
Yeah.
it's like a something. I can't really explain it any further, but something good turns on in there. Okay, and out there. There's no even difference between in there and out there. That's just the mind. When you're free of the mind, even inside and outside is the same. Okay? So Sat is the first quality of what you truly are. See, the whole idea here is for you to get, you're not the grid, you're not Damon, you're not the past, you're not the conditioning. Nobody else in the world can give you that teaching. The worldlings don't know it. They can talk about it. Some few people read some books and stuff, but only the small percentage of people that have a realization internally know about their true self. So I'm talking to you out of my realization that can help you have some of yours, but it'll be yours, not mine. You see? That's the only one that'll work and make you happy. Mine won't. Okay? So Sat is the first term. Then comes this word in Sanskrit that's called Chit. Chit is translated in English as consciousness. The best way I'd like to describe it is knowing. So now let me introduce simple English equivalents for Sat and Chit. For Sat, the English way you could describe the feeling of what it is when you sit in your being is I am. I exist. Okay? And Chit means I know that I am. I'm clear within myself that I, almost to say have existence is incorrect, but it's the best grammar we have. Really, more the feeling is I know that I am existence. Okay? That's the core of your being. Okay? That's not your self-image. Okay? It's different. Okay? It's other than, in fact, it is the substratum of your self-image. When our consciousness power, the Chit, gets diluted by the mind, or manas, which is the same root of Sanskrit that came to become the English word man, for mankind and human beings. They knew. The activity of the lower mind they call manas. The activity of the higher mind they call buddhi. What is the root bud? Same as Buddha, means awake, means the higher mind, means the part of you that's recognizing something. The lower mind doesn't understand. The buddhi understands and recognizes. See, the manas just goes round and round in the grid, in the same plane. The thought process, the thinking, the conditioning is limited. It's a flatlander, right? To use dimensional, you know what I mean by that, right? You can't see anything. It's a flatland, okay? That's all you can get by concepts. So at some point, the conceptual worship has to end and we go beyond. That's where meditation comes in, okay? So let me go back to Sat, Chit. Now here's the good one, the one that everybody likes, but that they don't really know yet. Ananda. Ananda means bliss. It means the nature of what you really are is complete and absolute bliss, untainted, unalloyed. You know what an alloy is? It means something not pure. Something's mixed. Right?
Sure.
Like an alloyed metal is two metals mixed together, okay? So unalloyed bliss. It means bliss not mixed with anything else.
Unadulterated.
Anything from self-image living is always impure because it's mixed. Okay? Everything in the dualistic mind is mixed. You have the most fantastic orgasm and feel happy for a little while. You've lost the energy, okay, that it took to have that orgasm. You make a lot of money and live at a certain place. It doesn't last. You fear to lose it. Or there's some levels of impurity in it. It's not completely perfect, other than temporarily. It can give the illusion of being perfect. So that's what I want to distinguish. The Ananda is unalloyed bliss, and remember, it's an aspect of Sat, which means it's also eternal. Doesn't fluctuate, doesn't go away. So now I'll come back to the English thing. Don't even think about it. Just keep listening. You can think about it later.
Yep.
Sat Chit,
recording.
yeah, Sat Chit Ananda. I'll put it this way. If I'm sitting in my own being, which has got nothing to do with Charlie, okay? Yeah, it's incorporated, become a good part of my person. I embrace it and so on. But I know it's not the little one that was born in year X and will die in year Y and was conditioned by events A, B, C. See, I know better than that that's not me. That's why I never have to commit suicide or be totally in despair. I'll just deal with what I got to deal with as it comes along. You know, I'm not a full master staying there all the time, but I know how to get there, and I can get there every day. Okay? I got that much down. Okay? So, Sat Chit Ananda, I am Sat. I know that I am, Chit. And Ananda, what I am is bliss. So to put it differently, I am, and I know that I am, I kind of like it. It's good. Okay? Now I'm going to add two Sanskrit terms that aren't generally put in with Satchit Ananda, but anyone that feels it will know it. If I told this to any of the Hindu teachers or sages, they would totally concur. I'm going to add Shanti and Purnam. Shanti, you ever heard this expression,
Sure.
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti? Do you know what the translation of that word
don't.
is? It means peace. Okay? So, the nature of man, of me or you or anybody else, if they get beyond their mind, beyond their grid, beyond their ego, beyond their person, beyond their past, beyond their conditioning, beyond their karma, beyond their false self, beyond the thing they've been believing that they are, that they really aren't, but it's as if they were because they believe it, beyond their role, beyond their act, which is largely subconscious, which is why it's so tenacious and doesn't go away right away with just thoughts. When they get beyond that, what they are is Satchit Ananda Shanti Purnam. There's 5 terms now. I am, I know that I am, what I am is bliss. Shanti means what I am is peace. And Purnam means what I am is full. Purnam means fullness. If something is full, what does it need?
I don't think much. If it's full of what?
If it's full, what does it need?
I don't think anything.
Correct. If it's full, what does it desire?
It doesn't need anything.
Correct. Need nor desire anything.
Unless it's too full.
No, just full.
Yeah, it's fine then.
Okay? Satchidananda Shanti Purnam. Now if I put it in personal vernacular, I know that I am. What I am is bliss. What I am is peace. And I'm completely full.
That's fucking cool.
I have no need for anything. I have no desire for anything. When you start to view, when I teach you further, we go deeper in meditation, one of the signs will be, it'll occur to you, this is in a little beginning stage when the first rays start to break through and dawn, you'll get the feeling, when the meditation period ends, it'll be like this metaphorically, you may do it on your chin, but just watch me, this is what your inner mind is doing. Now, why am I coming out of this again? Like, what am I going back to in the world that has even the palest 1 to the negative 1,000th repercussion of what I feel here as my own being? Okay? And the answer is, of course, we only have to because of biological imperatives. That's what it'll be. You'll even have periods where you feel, like for me, anyone with some degree of realization or enlightenment or whatever term we want to use, there'll be a serious stage where you feel the world is a real fucking bother.
Yeah.
You have to come off the mountain, step down, and do all this ignorant shit that in your being you know is completely unnecessary. But in the overall integrated picture, you have to somehow figure it out and integrate it because you got to make X amount of money and keep your body together and eat food. As my realization deepens and heightens as I go on, even that concern will become less and less. That's why my heroes are the guys that took it all the way and could live in a fucking cave with no food. Doesn't mean you have to, but you could happily. See? So I said this to you the other night, but we were more confused and I was ill. Needs are in quotes all the time, Damon. They're only proportionate to the level of consciousness. When the level of, and they're inversely proportional, to use a mathematical term because you know what it is, right? They're inversely proportional.
Yes.
When your consciousness is low, your needs are high. When your consciousness is high, your needs are low. When your consciousness is very high, your needs are very low. When your consciousness is in the absolute, which is yourself, completely out of the grid, your needs are nil. 0. So again, what you are not is the grid. What you are not is the ego structure. What you are not is Damon that you believed you were up till now. What you are not is all the conditions that happened to that particular body-mind and infused it, that later that karma came out and had to be processed, like in the dark night periods you've had, and so on. That we all have. I'm talking about myself as well. Okay? For everybody. What you are not is that grid, that condition, that cause and effect structure. What you are not is that. And to put it in plain language, how we can realize it when we meditate, I can make it very simple and real in the moment. What you are not is thoughts. See? But thoughts, gotta remember, have the iceberg nature. So if we just say you're not your surface thoughts, that's not sufficient. in the right direction, but you have to also know you are not your subconscious thoughts. You are not the deeper rafters of your self-image. It's not only that you're not the roof of your self-image, you're not the rafters, you're not the house, you're not the foundation of your self-image. That's why when Buddha had his full enlightenment, you read it, it's very strong. He says, "O house builder, I have seen you now, and your rafters are broken. You shall no longer bind me." You know, they're mythologizing it, anthropomorphizing and so on. But those are the inner psychological forces that he understood that were making him into an individual that could suffer, that took him away from the fact that he is Satchidananda Shantipurna, or Buddha, or the ultimate nature of the universe, or the principle of creation that is everything. He realized he was that. See? And what he was trying to say was, I'm not the individual self-person. Okay? So,
I think
so what
starting to get it.
Yeah. What you are not is all that conditioned state. The only way you can verify what I'm saying for yourself is to have some moments that are free of thought. Okay? It can't come about by thought. Okay? But I'm just telling you from my experience, and using some of the terminology of the great traditions, because they were men of real experience that founded all these religions. Okay? Their followers turned them into isms. They didn't. You know? Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. Jesus wasn't a Christian.
Sure.
And so on and so on. Yeah, Lao Tzu wasn't a Taoist. You know, those are for people that didn't understand and wrote it down, and then the masses couldn't get it. And the most reason they didn't get it is they didn't have practice. Okay. So what you are not is that whole grid. What you are not is the past. What you are not is the projected future and all the ramifications of that whole grid. What we are, what we can verify. You'll see, do I feel the way that Charlie was saying when I sit in this beyond my mind? He was saying that I'm going to be Satchidananda Shantipurna. I'm going to feel I am. I know that I am. What I am is bliss. What I am is peace. And I'm completely full. Have no desires and no needs. When that touches you, this great saint Sri Ramakrishna said, the only way the moon will be pulled out of the orbit of the earth is when a larger heavenly body like the sun comes by. That's the only way, but that'll happen as you sit in yourself. I like to use that terminology. As you rest in the self. They've used Atman, Brahman, you've heard those words,
yes.
Okay? When you sit in that, the influence of that starts to work. And that will start to draw you away. That other beautiful metaphor that Ramakrishna used to use, he said, the boats, the wooden boats that are nailed together with the metal nails, float out on their journey of suffering and pain. At one point, they pass a lodestone, a magnetic stone that starts to pull the nails, until eventually the nails are pulled completely and the structure, the boats collapse. That's what God does to us, or the truth, or our self, or our being. Okay? I'm using different words so we don't attach to any of them. Okay? But they're useful to help get a point across. As I've said before, the wise use words, the unwise are used by words. Let me expand on that. The wise use thoughts, the unwise are used by thoughts. The wise explain things about self-image without being attached to it. The unwise believe they are their self-image. Therefore, for them, there is no freedom. And that's most people. And remember, self-image is the product of thought that is not only conscious. It's the product of iceberg thought. The deeper parts of thought that contribute to your self-image were instilled in you before you had any resisting power by your parents when you were a child. You had no power to not be impressed by the impression they made. It is impossible. The human psyche does not work that way. So all that can happen, all that does happen in a life of enlightenment, is that wisdom as an adult that can understand it comes in, and then, as they say in Bhagavad Gita, in the fire of knowledge, in the truth, understanding what I'm saying, the karmas shall burn to ashes. That's one of the most inspiring things, because it's true. As you progress and meditate more deeply, that blaze, it's like a fire, Damon, of truth that you learn to sit in, that you learn to meditate in, because it's your own being. Right? So you're really learning, all you're doing is unlearning how not to be in it because it is your own being. And basically it boils down to you learn how to do that by not attaching to your thoughts, you see? And I'll show you how we bring that about. So that fire will burn your karmas. It will change you. I can see it in my own life. I know that it's a real process. The things I'm saying to you are not dependent on my having read them in some ancient texts.
Yeah.
Okay, it is my own experience. However, I'm wise enough to draw upon, I'm standing on the shoulders of the masters before me. They like to say in Taoism and Tai Chi and martial arts, I'm standing on the shoulders of my masters. But I am my own man. You are your own man. Okay? So that's a little sort of background of what we are. Now, if you can suspend any question or reaction to that for a little bit, let's sit and I'll try to help you understand in light of what we said a little more concretely, and that will help you have a meditation practice that will be useful to you on a regular basis, that won't just be spinning around and around in the dualistic mind, in the self-image, in the grid. I can show you how to make your meditation work to your best interest, to your best interest of your true self. Follow? Not necessarily the
Not 100%, but I'm with you.
Right, good. But you couldn't right away, otherwise you'd have the enlightenment. But you're getting it. You're hearing it at least. Okay, I'm going to tell you traditionally how this works. What we're duplicating here in our modern time in Newport Beach in 2010, almost 2011, is what's happened traditionally between minds. We could say teacher and student, but I don't take that all seriously, because maybe in other lives it was the other way around, and so on. So I have no ego about it. That's why I can be bold about it. I'm not getting off on thinking I'm the teacher and you're the student. It's not about self-image. I'm coming from a place that's beyond that grid. That's what you need to understand. My presentation is a little more strong and New Yorkish. So
it has to be for me.
People couldn't get it, but you get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people haven't seen where I'm coming from, so they will mistake it naturally for what it looks like on the outside, which to some circles that I've been in is arrogance or whatever. That's not my problem if they don't understand it. If it gets through at all, great.
You're just speaking truth that you verified.
Right, correct. So what we're duplicating here is the way that your deeper enlightenment will come. There are terms in Sanskrit, you don't need to know them, I'll just translate in English. Hearing is the first one. You hear the truth from somebody that at least knows it a little bit, and I make no claim to be a great master. I'm a regular guy, drop back into ego states after struggle and so on. But I know the fucking difference, I know the path, I know how to get there, ongoing, consistently, and it's been verified by people outside, as I've explained to you. People of higher enlightenment than me, I believe, have recognized it. And the people of high enlightenment don't even make those comparisons in their mind, but they can see some facts, right? And it's borne the tests. The metal has been tempered and tested by my experiences. Okay? Okay, so just so you know that. So hearing, meaning the student hears something from a teacher. Okay? And then reflection, which is what will start to happen to you after I leave here. Okay? So you think it over. You're not necessarily conceptually thinking it over, but something will penetrate. What the fuck? What's he saying? Is he deluded or is that something real? What the fuck's he talking? That'll happen in yourself. So it'll be honest. Hearing, reflection, then meditation will come, which I'll help you with, and then realization. Those 4 steps. That's the way we move from a path of being identified with the ego, or from ignorance to enlightenment. Okay? So I'm going to turn these lights out. So you'll be aware of the process. I'm a teacher that doesn't believe in automata or robots, and I want people to be self-aware of the process they're in. So that's what I'm trying to illuminate it as much as I can. Can I borrow?
Yeah.
Okay. You need any more pillows down there?
No, I've gotten...
Yeah, I didn't even bring in my... I don't need it. So just consider everything that I've said here to you this evening. As just something to let sink in, not necessarily to think about. If it comes up naturally and you think about it, that's fine, and I'll be happy to talk about it next time. Answer any questions and so on.
How's my sitting posture?
It's good. I don't see any main problems with it.
The back is straight.
Do you feel good with it?
Yeah,
more or less?
I think so.
Yeah. See if you can get yourself a little more traditional sitting cushion. I don't want to take the time, otherwise I just go out and get mine, and I may if I don't feel comfortable here. But I want to at least get you started, and then if I get up and go out, that's what I'm doing, just going to get my cushion. The posture's fine. So let's take 1 minute of silence, and I want you to release every thought that's coming to your mind, if there are any. Just release every single one. Start that now. Every single one. Do not hold any thought.
Okay, that looks like that was the ending, more or less. Just counting down with some silence before the recording ended, a few seconds only, so that was it. And that was A4. I guess the ego, self-image, and beyond, self-realization, so on.